Bonjour everyone, I am Anne-Lise Cailliez and welcome to Parlez-Vous CEO, where we ditch the corporate talk and get real about entrepreneurship. Each week, I chat with founders and CEOs who build businesses their way, through the failures, pivots, and breakthroughs. And they bring the fire. Plus, I'll drop some golden nuggets of wisdom from my own entrepreneurial journey. This is your space to grow, learn, and evolve with a true growth mindset. Remember, success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Now let's kick things off and get this party started. Hello, bonjour, and bonjour, hello. Welcome to another episode of Parlez-Vous CEO. My name is Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I am your host, and I am super excited to have with me Sarah Leathers from Connecticut. Meet Sarah. She's the founder who turned her passion for food as medicine into a thriving Connecticut nonprofit, where 700 plus annual volunteers help deliver 224,000 meals and counting. Sarah, it's a pleasure meeting you today and having you on the show. In your own words, could you tell our listeners who are just meeting you a little bit about your story and background?
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored to be on your show. So I'm actually an engineer by schooling and had worked in corporate America for a number of years and realized that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go in. And then over the course of a number of years was in a number of different roles. And one of them was in construction. So I learned a lot about working with people and so forth. You know what? Let's start over.
So it was great.
Where am I going
you
with
didn't
this?
Like it?
I'm like,
I think it was great.
Really?
Yeah, you started with the engineer background, corporate. I was like, yeah, I'm into this. I want to know how you pivoted.
Okay. All right. I was like, is this, because I do have kind of this swirl background, but it led me to where I am today. So
yeah,
I just don't know.
This is really, This is inspiring. This is great. It means people can change career. No, this is like you're telling your story, and this is a great story. You go for it.
Okay. All right. Should I start over?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I am grateful for the time to talk about what the work that I do and just share with you my long and twisted career and how I got to where I am today. So I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree and worked in corporate America for a number of years and kind of saw that that was not the direction that I wanted to stay in. And so I left there really not knowing what I was going to do as an engineer, but I was able to connect with some people who have been in the business as engineers, and someone had suggested construction. I'm highly organized, and they said, I think you would love this business. And so I worked as a project manager and estimator for a couple small construction companies, one in New Hampshire and one here in Connecticut. And I loved the work. I really, really loved the work. But after I had my second daughter, I decided I wanted to spend some time home with my children. And so I ran a home daycare for a number of years, complete switch. And I literally would run around and clean up after them because I was so used to having like all the ducks in a row and everything clean. But that was great. It afforded me the opportunity to be home with my children. And then when I decided to go back to work, I was able to work for kind of getting back into the construction business for a landscape architect for a number of years and really ran his office for him. And then actually in 2011, I had a major health crisis. And that really kind of stopped me in my tracks. Just needed to kind of stop and really take care of myself. And in that time, it was about 18 months of treatment and recovery. I also went through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I really wanted to understand how can I take better care of myself and my family. And so that was an eye-opener for me. Around the same time, my sister, who lives in California, had started the Series Community Project. And she started what I'm doing today, running a nonprofit, about helping people who are in a health crisis with really beautiful nutrient-rich meals, but bringing youth into the kitchen every week to help make those meals. So I saw what she was doing in California. I had recovered from the medical crisis that I was in and was working, and I just felt like every time I turned around, somebody had been diagnosed with cancer in my community. And I would show up at somebody's door with a batch of my sister's nourishing broth from her cookbook and I was buying her cookbook by the case. And I was just showing up at somebody's door and saying, the one thing that you can do when when there's so many things out of your control when you're in families in a health crisis is what you choose to put in your mouth. And food is medicine, and food can be a incredible piece to the puzzle of healing. And so I just kept doing that. And I would say to people, someday I'm going to start what my sister's doing in California. And I did that for years. And then finally, this woman looked at me and she goes, "What are you waiting for?" And, I said to her, the engineer in me has to have it all figured out. And she said, "That's not how it's going to work. Just find a family." And so that was in August of 2015. And in November, I actually tapped 3 friends and said, "I'm going to California to see my sister to learn how to do this. Are you interested in joining me?" And so that we did that in November of 2015. And in March of 2016, we opened up Healing Meals Community Project. And now we are doing that work here. So that's my long and windy story. And I say to a lot of young people that every job that I've had since I was younger has led me to this. Because there was all along the way, I worked with adults with disabilities. I worked with seniors. I had a health crisis. I worked in corporate America. So I had all of these skills that I had gained to bring me to where I am, to have the confidence to jump into something I'd never done before in my mid-50s, to start a nonprofit and believe I could do it. And so that's how I got to where I am today.
Wow. What an incredible story, Sarah. This is so impressive. You also make it sound very easy how you've been pivoting from one career to the other. I mean, even I think this is something that is challenging for a lot of women who are going back to work, right? So what was your experience changing drastically, from being a mechanical engineer to opening a children program? What was the mindset behind that?
I think, in every decision I made, it was about what was right for me at the time. When I got my first job out of college at Procter & Gamble, I was going to be the first woman president of Procter & Gamble. That was my goal. And I just realized that that wasn't going to be the right thing for me. And so I pivoted and I was like, okay, what is going to be the right thing for me? And in the years that I worked in construction, I loved it. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than building something, right? And being in charge of a group of people, almost all men, that you have to work together to build something. And it's, I can still drive around and see things that I was instrumental in making happen in the buildings around the community that I live in. But then when I had my children, it was a time for me as a mom to say, what's important to me at this moment? And for me, that was to have the time to be home with my children at a time when I was very blessed. I lived in a neighborhood where the year that my second daughter was born, there were 6 other babies that were born, and all those moms were home. So we had an incredible network, and it just afforded me that opportunity to spend time with my children. And that's not for everyone, but for me, that was the decision that was right for me and right for our family. And then, I was ready to get back to work. And when I went back to work, it was the right time. And it was a position that was in my town. So I had that flexibility that, when you have children, you have kids who get sick and you have after school activities. And so I was able to be flexible. And that was a decision my husband and I made, that, I'll take on that responsibility until if I can't, and then he's got to step in. But I was able to do that.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. And right now, with your current nonprofits, you mentioned to me you have 700 volunteers annually and a wait list to join. What do you think is the secret to creating such a magnetic volunteer experience?
From the day that I started Healing Meals, I thought this is my opportunity to create something that really aligns with how I want the world to change. And it's about kindness, and it's about seeing everybody for who they are, and providing a really safe, loving place to be together in connection. And I'm blessed that the team I have who works alongside me understands that. So one of our core values is really everybody who steps into Healing Meals or is connected to Healing Meals should feel better when they leave than when they came in. And I think that's part of it. We have, of those, 700 volunteers, a third of those every year are youth volunteers. They're teenagers. And this is a really critical time for teenagers to learn how to believe in who they are and show up as who they want to be in the world. And we really want to honor that. And so we don't let a parent volunteer on the same shift as a youth, because we know how easily it is to want to correct our children or, anything like that. And same for adults, right? Adults need their own space. And so that's been really important. And watching our young people just rise to the occasion. Sometimes we literally peel them back one layer at a time. We just let them come in. Sometimes they're really quiet or solemn or whatever. And sometimes they have bad days. Our adult volunteers have bad days. And we're just honoring how they're showing up that day. So that says a lot about the team, because we also have bad days, but we are able to kind of put those aside. And so there's just, the hope is that people feel really positive energy in our space, and that will change how they go out into the world when they're done.
That's amazing. And Sarah, about the business. So how do you build a sustainable nonprofit serving this scale without any state or federal funding?
Just like we did. We didn't try and grow too fast. In the beginning, we were really careful about almost how we marketed ourselves, because we wanted to be able to support every family who needed our service. And so had we gone out to all the hospitals and the cancer centers and said, hey, we're here, we wouldn't have been able to support all those people, because as we know, there are so many people in a health crisis. And we serve people with cancer, people have hospitalizations and surgeries, people with chronic conditions, mental health crisis. We have a maternal health program. So over the years, we've just grown and grown and grown as we've been able to support those people. So we really have, over the years, it's about having to build a really strong foundation so that we have all of those processes in place, all of the right people in place doing the work, so that we can continue to grow year after year, and so we can be sustainable. It's easy to go after the shiny thing because somebody says, well, I'll give you money to do X. Well, if that doesn't align with the work that we're doing, it just pulls us away. And I think that is a struggle for a lot of nonprofits is, somebody says, oh, I'll give you $100,000 to do this, but it's not exactly in the alignment. So we have stayed really, really true to the work that is our mission, and not strayed from that. And I think that makes a difference too. We are so blessed to have incredible individual donors. Many of them are our volunteers. We have just grown that, right? Having a really strong core of volunteers. We have a great group of corporate sponsors, and then we are supported by, foundations and grants. And many of them have been with us year after year. So I think we're really blessed in that way that we've done it slowly. We do it in a way where we can really honor all the people who do support us. And I think that that's important. I will say in the beginning, for years, I used to handwrite a note card to every donor. That has gotten really hard, and that says we're really well supported, but we do try and let them know at every moment how grateful we are.
That's amazing. And so you're touching on marketing. What have you feel has been your most successful fundraising strategies with corporate sponsors and foundations?
So we have a couple events every year that brings our corporate sponsors in. And one is we do a 2-day cook-a-thon event where corporate teams come in, groups of 8 to 12 come in, and they cook alongside. We're very blessed. We have a number of really incredible chefs in our community or our greater community that are very well known, both nationally and just within our community. And they donate their time, and these corporate teams come in and they cook our meals for our clients. And it's all day Monday and an all day Tuesday, and they pay to come in and do that. And so that it's a team building opportunity for them. And the energy in that building is just incredible. I would say 95% of the people that come in didn't know about us. And so that opens up so many opportunities. And then on the Tuesday night after, we do a beautiful, it's called our Made with Love benefit. And we have about 165, 70 people come in, and that's a big fundraiser for us. So there's this 2-day kind of energy build up. So we do that. And then actually this Saturday, we do, it's called Healing in Motion, and it's really a wellness event for everybody. It's a fundraiser, but people can do a local run. We do a hike, we do a bike, and we have a yoga class. And then we all come back together and have brunch together. And it's a way to say, I'm going to take care of myself while I'm taking care of our clients and our teams.
Oh, that's amazing. I love this. This is really such great mechanism for brand awareness and having sponsor get invested in what you're doing, both the mission and on site. I think that's incredible. And so Sarah, you have a big milestone coming up this year, right? Because you're hitting your 10-year milestone, and with 224,000 meals served, what's the biggest opportunity you see for expansion?
Such a great question. Thank you. We're really excited to be able to, so we serve currently 75 towns in Connecticut, and we want to serve more. We want to be able to expand throughout Connecticut over the next couple of years. So our goal as we celebrate our 10-year is to say, we're going to go farther. We are going to reach some of the other counties that we're not serving right now and build that momentum for the work that we're doing. So one of the things is we have been asking for funding for a refrigerated van. So our delivery angels, we have volunteers who do all the deliveries. And right now, the farthest they go is about 40 minutes in any direction because they've got food, in their car. They want to make sure that it stays safe. So much farther than that, we really needed a refrigerated van. And we just heard from a donor that he is going to purchase a refrigerated van for us. So that is the opportunity to build a couple hubs throughout the state where we can deliver those meals to a hub, and then we can get community members in those areas to deliver the meals and expand where we're serving. So that's one thing that we're really excited about coming up. The other is building on the education that we're doing for our clients. We serve a family for up to 24 weeks, and we want to make sure that family understands how important food is in long-term overall health. So throughout their 12 to 24 weeks that they receive our meals, we're educating them in little bits of information. We want to expand that. And so one of the things we're looking at is bringing our teens in and having our teens actually do videos of cooking different recipes and be able to give those to our clients along with all the groceries that they would need to prepare that meal. So we're going to be extending what our clients get by adding medically supportive grocery bags and recipes. And that feels really good. 90% of the families we're serving now are getting our meals for free. And many of those families are low-income families, and they don't have access, in a lot of cases, to healthy choices or even a grocery store if they're living in a food desert. So for us to be able to show them what does a healthy meal look like and what does a healthy grocery bag look like, it just gives them the opportunity to be able to do that moving forward on their own. And that changes generations of people behind them who make healthier choices. And that's really important for us. Our vision is a community where food heals. And so everything that we do, we think about, is that helping a community grow and heal for themselves?
Amazing. And Sarah, is there anything at all with the business that keeps you up at night?
Such a loaded question, I think. Over the years, there's been a lot of things that keep me up. I mean, fundraising, especially in the time that we're in now, is challenging, right? You know, as a nonprofit, you start every year back at zero. I mean, we have money in the bank, but you really start at zero and you say, okay, I've got this budget. I've got to go back out every year to our donors and our foundations and say, hey, do you still believe in our work? Would you increase your giving for us? But I have to say, over the years, I have learned to really trust. And one of my statements I say a lot is I remain overly optimistic. All through COVID, I just kept saying to our team, I remain overly optimistic. We never stopped in COVID. We increased our giving. We served 1,000 healthcare workers. And, you know, everybody was like, where are we going to get the money? I said, if we continue to do good work, the money will come. And it's when I stay in that mindset, it does come in. When I get overthinking is when we have a problem. And so for me as the head of the organization, I have to really show the team that if we continue to do the kind of work that we do, that it will continue to be supported and we will continue to be able to grow. So it's me staying in the right mindset and not getting caught up in what's happening outside of us and, you know, in the fact that the federal funding is going away. You know, the first thing was when I talked to the team about when that first came up, I said, you know, there's an opportunity here where some of our funders may choose to support some of the organizations that are going to lose their federal funding. And within 2 seconds, my executive chef said, well, we'll just take care of all those people. And I thought, you know what, we're in good hands here because we have a team that is about doing the right thing. And if we continue to do the right thing, we will be supported.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
And Sarah, how do you keep that healthy mindset at all times, especially when you have to lead the team, right? Like that. So you're the one who needs to be very clear on direction and stay optimistic. How do you stay like that?
So I find that when I am at the kitchen, talking to volunteers, working alongside our team, that continues to fuel me because I see how what we do matters at all levels. And that's really what fuels me. I work usually from home on Mondays and Fridays, and that's where I crank out all the things I need to. But when I'm at the kitchen, it's about building those connections, hearing from people why this matters to them. So many of our adult volunteers will say to me, this is my happiest place I go to every week. You know, when we say we have a wait list, we have a volunteer email that goes out every Wednesday at 4:00. Sign up is filled by 4:15. So, you know, it's being alongside those people. It's making a delivery that really continues to fuel me to want to grow this and really share with people the work that we're doing so we can do more. But at the same thing, I have to take care of myself to do that. And I'll be honest, I'm not great at that. I push myself, you know, work really long hours because I'm passionate about this. But there's a balance there. And even at 63, I'm not great at the balance. I have luckily an incredibly supportive husband who will say to me at night, you have to shut your laptop. You have to shut your laptop. And I have my sister, who I'm so grateful, who has really trailed the way and showed me how to do this. And she's really disciplined about self-care. And so she's always in my ear, what are you doing to take care of yourself? So I'm a slow learner, but I continue to get better at that. And one of the things she says to me all the time is, what are you modeling for your team? And right, what are you modeling? Because we are all dedicated to the work and we could all work more than we should. But at the end of the day, that doesn't help us. But it's a hard balance as the CEO of something that you started, right? It's really hard to balance because you want to be doing more. You want to bring more money in and all of that. So I'm getting better at it.
And what does self-care look like to you?
Time with my family. I have a pretty good routine of waking up in the morning. I get up early and sometimes I'll work for a couple hours, but then, I'll do a workout. It might be a couple mile walk. It might be some strength training. It might be some qigong. It really is. I really listen to my body in that respect to not push myself, but I really try and make that a priority every single day. And then it's time with family and friends and, time on the weekends to just be and be outside and so forth. It's not perfect, right? I think anybody would say we know what we'd like to be doing every day. And then it's rest. I've gotten much better at being able to say, I just need to go to bed, or I just need to take a day and rest, like I did when I said, you know what, I just need that day. So it's a constant honoring yourself so that you can honor the people around you who rely on you to be your best.
Sarah, if you had a piece of advice to share with someone who is thinking about starting a nonprofit, but think this is not my background, I've never worked in nonprofit before, I haven't been a founder before, what would be the steps that you recommend her or him to take based on your experience?
So I would say number one is connect with CEOs and founders of nonprofits and spend some time talking to them. Because for me, I had my sister that I saw how she started. I could call her at the drop of a hat, right? I had somebody who was in my corner that really guided me and supported me along the way. And I think that's really, really important. I would also say trust in yourself, believe in whatever it is that you're wanting to start. It's somehow the universe has dropped that in your lap. And it's something you need to do. So let it grow slowly, let it grow organically with care and love in it, because it's a long-term commitment and you don't want to grow too fast, especially if it's something you're really passionate about. And then I would also say, find an executive coach. Find somebody who can guide you, who can really help you. I didn't have an executive coach for a long time, and I would say that has been incredible. So as things come up, right, there's somebody there you can go to who can really, they don't know your people in your business. You can vent if you need to. You can ask hard questions. And I have a group of other executive directors that I meet with on a fairly regular basis. And that's been incredibly helpful as well. So the number one, I would say, go for it. Go for it. Go for it and believe in yourself. I think you really have to believe in yourselves because it's so easy to get knocked down when things get hard. But I think you have to believe in yourself and the work that you're passionate about and trust that it will all come together. And then I surround myself with really incredible people. The team that I have and the board of directors, just really beautiful humans, really talented and gifted. And many of them are, their job description is this, but their talent is much greater than that. So, as a team, we really work collaboratively, and that's been really important. And I think you have to put your ego aside and know that you're not the expert in the room all the time. And that's tricky.
Yeah, those are beautiful. This is really great advice. I mean, I think the coach I did the same mistake. I don't know why it took me years to get my business coach. I started 10 years ago with my own business, and I think I waited 7 years to get an executive coach. Surrounded yourself with talents, having a board and people that you can trust, absolutely. Interviewing CEOs or connecting with CEOs who've built exactly what you've built before. And as you said, mindset, believing no matter what in your mission and trusting yourself. Those are really essential and great pieces of advice. Thank you for that, Sarah. I'm sure it's going to be very insightful for our listeners. Sarah, if you had to give a piece of advice this time for yourself, you when you were 20 years old, what would you share with yourself?
Know that the journey is twists and turns, and all along the way, you are learning and growing in just the most beautiful way of who you're supposed to be in the world. And you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down, and getting up and starting over and trying something new is only going to make you a better human. You're going to understand people better. So don't worry about getting knocked down.
And Sarah, what's coming up with the business, and where can people find you?
So as I said, we're really looking to expand and grow. So the support to do that is always what we're looking for. If you're in Connecticut and you want to stop and see us, I would love that. You can reach us at www.healingmealsproject, and you can connect with me there as well. Please go there and see the work that we're doing. Check our website out. And I'm always here if somebody's interested to learn more.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being a guest on Parlez-Vous CEO today. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you.
Anne-Lise, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and share my story.
And that wraps up today's episode. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I can't wait to join you again next week. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks for listening to Parlez-Vous CEO today. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps us keep going. And connect with us on Instagram at Parlez-Vous CEO. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I know some days are harder than others. On those tough days, think back to why you started. What you're doing today matters, even when you can't see the results yet. Ideas are great, but it's what you do with them that counts. Find everything we talked about today at parlezvousceo.com. See you next week, and you've got this.